that it was time for us to really take on wealth. We said it's time for us to understand wealth. Well, I have got a show for you. Who's protecting your assets? Who is protecting you? Who is making sure that your stuff gets passed on to the next generation? Now, most of us, when we think about that, we're not looking at the fact that I've got whatever. We're always thinking it's got to be a house, it's got to be money, it's got to be all of those things. Otherwise, what's the point? Why am I even bothering to go through the exercise? Well, here's the deal. Do you have jewelry? Do you have paintings? Do you have posters? For those of you who live in Boston, you remember an artist by the name of Paul Goodnight, who, I mean, many of us still adore, but adored him. We have posters that he signed. Those are valuable. Those are something that can be passed on. Those are something that can be framed and value can be added. You've got furniture. Many have got strong, solid furniture. That's an asset that can be passed on, and it ought to be protected. And I'll tell you something. I remember when my grandfather passed away. He was not a person that believed in banks. He believed in hiding it in the house. Who knew that he hid $10,000 in a stereo? Yeah, it's called a stereo. He hid $10,000 in the back of the stereo. Guess what happened to the stereo? It was put out in the trash. Go figure. So who is protecting your assets? And here's the deal. We are all responsible for handling our business. I remember Kalanji, oh my goodness, I can't think of his last name right now. We used to work together in my mortgage broker, Kalanji Franklin. And I'll never forget, he used to always say that, it is up to us. Handle your business. That's how he used to put it. Okay, with that being said, we are talking this month, during the month of May, about protecting our assets. And how do we protect them? Today, we're going to be talking about trust. We're going to be talking specifically about living trust. Now, before I get underway and share those, I have got to give some shout outs this morning. Of course, I've got a shout out to Robin Tennille, our Platinum Ambassador for E3 Power Up. I want to give a shout out to Pamela Stone, who, by the way, will be with us next week. And she, of course, is our correspondent for E3 Power Up. Dr. Letitia Wright, who will be flying into Boston for this event. Of course, Nancy Zaire, our local doctor, who will be talking to us about reading and understanding people. Sherry Tucker Brown, longtime friend. I got a long list today. Nancy Lewis Hill out of New Hampshire, who I appreciate tremendously. She's following me always. Ron Bell. And I want to give a shout out to a very dear friend and colleague, Edward C. Now, I want to give a special acknowledgement and share that Cammie Baker, a colleague, is departing. We had her farewell event last week. So I want to give out a shout out to her and her beau, who was an awesome gentleman. Also, folks that were there were Ronald Cumming, Amanda Bruin, Corey, and I'm going to say, let me try it again, Corey Villavicencio, Sharon Nix, Sandra Tollis. Really appreciated meeting them at Cammie's Going Away event. Wishing Cammie and John such incredible success in moving to Washington State. See, when they depart, no, I never get upset because I go, that means I know somebody out there. I can go and visit that person out there. Is that not amazing? I want to acknowledge those that are following us live. And we have, of course, Ms. Abukara, Rabi Abukara out of Nigeria. Wow. And I appreciate her tremendously. She is always posting on our feed. Sarah Vaughn Smith, awesome woman. If you are looking to start your tax-exempt organization, that's the woman you need to be talking to. Amazing, amazing. Pamela Stone. Good morning, Pamela Stone. It is great to have you with us. There are a couple of other folks. If I missed you, I apologize. Put something in the feed. So as I'm watching the feed, I then can acknowledge you. Make sure we get show me some love. Put some thumbs up when you hear something that really makes sense, that's good for you. I want to know about that. Who is the early morning riser? The trophy has been passed to Bernadine Becknell Kirkland. She is with Takata Oncology. She is also an entrepreneur, and you may remember her from Ethnic Expressions. So again, we want to acknowledge her as the early morning riser. Okay, so we said the topic of conversation is who's protecting your assets. And this morning, we're going to do an overview of living trusts. A living trust specifically is a revocable trust. And so what that means is that from time to time, you as the living individual who owns the trust, you own the trust, however, you have beneficiaries. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But in this case, the living trust is something that is revocable. Okay, here's the deal. A trust is a written agreement between the donor and the person or the institution that's named that's going to receive the asset. So it is a living, it's a living document. It's a legal document. It is written with the specific purpose of you determining and allocating where those assets are going to go. The difference is, as we get into the content, you're going to realize and understand that a trust is significantly different from a will for tax purposes, for protection purposes. A trust does not have to go through probate. Now, before I go any further, with you that I am not an attorney. I am not an accountant. I am not a legal advisor. The information, the content that you get here is for educational purposes only. You must do your due diligence. Oh my goodness, I got to give a shout out to Desmond. Oh, Big D is at the house. Thank you for being with me. Ms. French, hello there. Lee French is with us as well. Thank you very much. Thumbs up. Okay, now with that being said, you know what the topic of conversation is. Let me share with you the sponsor for today's show is E3 Power Up 2017. Now, granted, I am the founder of it. However, we have sponsors. And E3 Power Up is its own entity. It is an award-winning women's conference. It's happening in Boston on September 30th. You are able to get tickets on Eventbrite. We've got some VIPs that are going to be joining us for that event. So I want to give a shout out to our VIPs. Amanda Bruin is a VIP out of New Hampshire. Also, Corey Vivalencio, and I'm going to learn to pronounce that correct, but I believe I did this time. Vivalencio is also a VIP at the E3 Power Up event. As we have more sponsors, I will be letting you know who those sponsors are because we want to give a shout out to them as well. All righty, we are moving on with more detail about living trust. Now, why am I sharing this? Why is this so important? In the scope of wealth, trusts are where we will be putting our assets. In fact, we may have multiple trusts, but that's where we're putting our assets. You know, some of us have heard, we remember back when Obama was running for office and we heard about our Massachusetts former governor was running for office, and people were totally upset because how is he only paying 17% tax and he's got all of these assets? TRUST, trust. He had trust that those were in. So let's get some more detail about the trust. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to ask all of you that are watching the broadcast as well, whether you're watching the broadcast live on Facebook or you're in our Google Hangout, I'm going to ask you to do me a major favor. I'm going to ask you to pick up your phone and I'm going to ask you to share with somebody. Go out and hit the share button and share our broadcast to somebody else so that they can come in and get this valuable information. This information is not free, it's complimentary. And for those of you who were listening to my open office Q&A with Brent Harding on Thursday night, you heard me talk about that. There is no such thing as free for you and I as entrepreneurs. Why do I say that? I say that because you are valuable. What you have is valuable, whether it's a product, a service, or it's content. And right now we know content is king. The pen is winning. And so to that end, you can offer complimentary. You can offer complimentary. However, the word free, we're not doing free. We're doing complimentary services. So this is a complimentary activity being broadcast beyond our Wealth Warrior community. Okay, so on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, we're going to hit it. 3, 2, 1, hit the share button. Oh, Lee French, girl, you go, girl. She's already put that out there. I appreciate that tremendously. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Now, a living trust can be amended, and it can also be revoked by the donor at any time in the donor's life, so long as the donor is competent. So different from a will. A will is a totally different structure. We're going to talk about that next week. Right now, what we're doing is we're talking about trusts. So I don't want to compare them right yet. I want to give you that information. Okay, so first and foremost, what we're saying is a trust is a written legal document between a donor and whoever is going to receive those assets. In many cases, we say that it's appropriate for a donor to be the initial trustee. So language that you've heard trust, you've heard donor, you've heard trustee. And that person is the trustee of the until management assistance or whatever is required takes over. A living trust, excuse me, again, may be revoked. You might say, hey, I want to pull that asset out of the trust, or I want to take some action, or I just want to dismantle the trust. Very, very important about a trust that I want you to know, because we had this experience in our family. A trust is an entity. A trust has a tax return. A trust must file a tax return. And I'll tell you, many people miss that part because what they do is they set up the trust, and because they don't know the rules of engagement, years go by. And then here's where they get caught. When they get ready to transfer that asset, for example, they want to transfer it out and they want to sell it. And suddenly they find out, well, you haven't filed the tax return for this. And in particular, if it's a home, if it's a house, if it's real estate, major, you could find yourself ending up paying 25% taxes on that asset. Can you imagine selling something for $400,000 and learning that you've got to pay $100,000 in taxes because you never filed something that may be so phenomenally simple? So I want you to put that at the top. Whenever you think about trust, you think about taxes, you think about the rules of engagement. The property in the trust is called the trust principal. There are other names for it, but right now we're going to stick with the trust principal. Here's some things that I want you to understand about a trust. A trust, we said, is a living agreement. And while the donor is alive, the trustee is generally responsible for managing the property that is in the trust as the donors direct it, usually the donor's benefit or beneficiary. So here's the deal. Upon the death, the trustee is directed by the trust document to either distribute the trust property to the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are the ones that are receiving it. So when we think about the legacy, who are the beneficiaries? Those are the individuals that we are moving that legacy onto. Are you feeling me in this? Are you feeling there's levels of simplicity? There are. However, we've got to do our background due diligence. For those of you who would like to get a copy of the material that I am utilizing, all you have to do is instant message me, and I will instant message me leave me your email address. I will make sure that you get a copy of this information, this overview, so that you can digest it, read it. Here's the important thing. At some point, you're going to go and see legal counsel. And when you do go and see legal counsel, what will be wonderful is if you already have an idea of the questions that you want to ask, if you've already done some of the homework, so that you go in, not only are you empowered, but you go in and you have saved yours. And the reason you've done that is because when that attorney has to send out a piece of paper to you, generally, there's going to be a fee that's associated with it. Yes? All right. So with that being said, I want to and share a little bit more about, I'm going to share a lot of the detail actually. So what we've said again is the living trust. That agreement has a donor. The donor who generally is alive, at least for a period of time, is the trustee, and when is trustee and is generally responsible for managing the property as the donor directs. Okay, now upon the death, things change. Now the trustee takes over and follows the agreement and either distributes to the beneficiaries, or if there may be content in that document that directs the trustee to do certain things. For example, let's say you have your children, and your children, you want to make sure that they have some real competency about themselves, and you may not give them everything all at once. For example, you might say, oh, at 25, you get this. At 25, and you have had a job for this period of time, you get this. Otherwise, it passes on and it gets distributed at age 30. So the trustee may be in the life of the process for quite a period of time. And typically, the trustee will receive some sort of benefit, some sort of funds. Why? Because they might be managing it for a long period of time. I have known individuals that have given a distribution at 25, a distribution at 30, and a distribution at 40. So that means that trustee is in whoever that beneficiary's life for 20 years. And they have certain responsibilities, legal responsibilities, because they've accepted the role of being the trustee. So generally, there's a management fee that's associated with being a trustee. Have you taken all that content in? Sucked it right up. Hey, I want to take a moment and give a shout out. Lisa Lowe, thank you for being with us this morning. It is appreciated. I need some love. Somebody put some love stuff up there. Hit me with a few hearts, a few thumbs up. Are you getting content? Now, I do remember this when I was in radio. Upset when people weren't asking questions and they weren't doing things. And I remember the station manager said, Brent, they are listening to you. That's what they're doing. They're listening. And they are not moving from the content. So if they don't show you the love immediately, don't get upset. Just keep on going because they're listening to the content. So with that being said, let me put a little bit more meat on the bone. Okay, let's talk about this. Most people name themselves as the trustee of the trust and serve in such a capacity until they pass on or become incapacitated. So when you're thinking about the trust, you've got to think through these things. Now, generally, an attorney is going to give you either an attorney, a paralegal, a legal consultant. Be careful that you understand the definition of who they are and what they are doing when you engage them. So what is happening from that perspective is you want to plan and think through, hey, what if I am incapacitated? Is the content of my trust in such a position that if something were to happen to me tomorrow, if something were to happen to me today, everything is clearly defined. See, a lot of times people will hold on and say, well, hey, I'm alive, I'm competent, I'm going to handle everything. Not thinking through the fact that I need to lay things out Somebody needs to know what it is that I want to do, and it needs to be in writing. Remember, in particular, well, when it comes to legal, at the end of the day, it's still the 4 points. What do I mean when I say 4 points? That means the paper. It's the 4 points of the paper. That means paper is still king. You know, we talk about everything electronic. We appreciate electronic. We appreciate the cloud. I'll tell you one thing. You go to the Registry of Deeds, it's still paper. And even if it's not paper, if it's on digital, it was on paper before it became digital. And you still print it off, and you still have to wet sign it. What is wet sign? That's when you're using the pen signing. So here's my question for everybody. Did you get some content? Are you feeling the information? Is it resonating with you as you start thinking back to people that have trust? Awesome. Every Saturday morning, the Wealth Warrior Group community gets together, and I share content with you, and we share content with each other. You know, I've met a number of people. Robin Tennille, I have never met her in person, yet she is our platinum ambassador for the E3 Power Up. Why? Because she's in the community. And as a result, I like to do business with folks that are in the community. So if you want to join our Wealth Warrior community, real simple. All you need to do is go up to our Facebook page, Wealth Warrior Group. It's a closed group, and come on in. Let us know you want to be in. We will approve you coming in because we want you to be a part of our community. We are circling that wealth. We are causing that money to rotate within our community. When I go to look for a graphic artist over this remainder of the weekend, guess where I'm going to go? I'm going to first go to my community and see who in my community is a graphic artist. I need somebody that I can work with. And so I'm going to go there. So hint, hint, did somebody hear that? If you are a graphic artist, you better be joining this community because that's where I'm going to find somebody. And that's what we do. That's what makes it extraordinary. Pamela Stone, same thing. Where did I meet her? I met her in my community. And that was the Wealth Warrior community. So again, you want to be a part of the community, the Facebook page, Wealth Warrior Group Facebook page, and let us know you want to join. We will approve you. We want you in our community. So with that being said, I am really jazzed about what we're getting here. Edward C., good morning. It is great to have you with us. I love it. Edward keeps track of, Edward and Robin, I'm telling you, they are tracking it. They're making sure anybody can put information into the feed. We want you to put information in the feed. This is meant to be interactive based on the information that you're hearing. So please go ahead and put it in the feed. And up on our page, you're a member of the community. You've got a service that you want us to know about. Put it on the page. That's the only way we're going to know what you're doing. And again, I am actually looking for a graphic artist for E3 Power Up. So if that's what you do, let me know. Instant message me. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and move forward with some information. Now, I'm going to read something directly from this overview. And it says here, as noted, most people, which we've talked about, name themselves as a trustee of the trust and serve in such a capacity until they die or they're incapacitated. Some donors may determine that they need assistance in the management of their assets. They own the asset, but they need assistance. So we're never going to get confused by the ownership level. It goes on to say that simply because they're too busy, too inexperienced, okay, or simply don't want to have the responsibility of the day-to-day management of, listen to this, they don't want the responsibility of the day-to-day management of their financial affairs. So see what just happened? They just transferred that responsibility to somebody else. They just gave that responsibility to somebody else. And sometimes when assets come up missing, and I'm not saying that they always do, but you know, when you hear these stories about the fact that, oh, this person, that their manager stole everything from them, you abdicated your responsibility. You gave it to somebody else. I'll tell you, Oprah would say in a heartbeat, oh, no, I'm watching my money. There we go. So let me continue on a little bit further. In such cases, the donors will name someone other than themselves as the trustee of the trust. When I look at things in my mind, the reason I created this was so that I could protect my assets. I've got to be responsible for watching them. It's called Administrative Friday. Are you doing your Administrative Friday where you are tying out everything that happened for the week? Tie it up. And you're tying it up in a nice little button. Why? So that you know you're handling your business. Handle your business. Longie Franklin, I appreciate him for that. With that being said, let me continue on a little bit further. Anyone selected as the trustee or co-trustee or successor trustee should be both capable and the big T, trustworthy. How much do you trust that individual? Because the more responsibility you allocate to them, the less you are more removed from the process. The more you give to them, the more you remove yourself from the process in the name, oftentimes it's in the name of busy. You really that busy? I'm just saying. Okay, with that being said, I want to take a station break for a moment and share a few details. Brent Harding, will be speaking tomorrow at an event held by Deborah Cox. You can go up to her Facebook page, Deborah Cox, and check it out. I will be speaking, it'll be on Gallivan Boulevard at her office in Boston. I'm going to be talking about leadership. I'm going to be talking to an audience of mothers, daughters, husbands, fathers, and I'm going to be talking about leadership and how we lead, what moves and promulgates us to lead. You know, leaders are solution consultants. That's right, we're solution consultants. I will drop in the feed where I'm going to be at under the word announcement. Would love to have you there. It's a mini fundraiser. She hasn't done it in a couple of years. However, she is doing that to reawaken the spirit of entrepreneurship, to reawaken the spirit of community, and also to give back and show gratitude. So I want to say, Deborah Cox, you are extraordinary and amazing, and it's going to be my honor and pleasure to be your keynote speaker tomorrow afternoon at 12:30. So that will be awesome. As you know, we are here every Saturday morning, and so we want to welcome you to our Saturday morning onset. Next week, we will be giving highlights of E3 Power Up and what's new and what's happening. Our correspondent, Pamela Stone, will be with us. That'll be at 9 a.m. Want to also share with you that Open Office Q&A with Brent Harding is happening on Thursdays, and you have the opportunity to participate in the open office. It's Q&A on air for 30 minutes, and then you can book appointments with me to join me over at the Quincy Innovation Center. Bring your stuff. We'll go through with it. I'm going to give you some suggestions and recommendations, always with the caveat that this is complimentary and for educational purposes. So those are the announcements that I have for this morning thus far. And I want to give a shout out and a welcome to new people that are on the broadcast with us. And Robert Jackson, great morning to you. It's good to have you with us. Oh, I appreciate that tremendously. So back to the content of the show. Some of this information I'm just reading directly to you. And again, if you would like a copy of this, instant message me and send me your email, and I'll be more than glad to send you these documents. About the fact that a trustee can select somebody else to help them out to take over certain responsibilities. Now, here's the deal. Depending, of course, on the circumstances will determine the style and format of the trustee. It's also dependent upon their abilities. So a trustee could be a spouse, it could be an adult child, it could be a relative, again, a trusted family friend, a business associate. Any number of people could be your trustee. A donor may also wish to consider naming a successor trustee. What is a successor trustee? That's the person that assumes responsibility for managing the trust in the event of disability or somebody being incapacitated. Now, or of course, death. The interesting thing is, notice the language. You have trustee, you have co-trustee, you have another one, a successor trustee. So the trustees may handle the business to here. Now, death or incapacity has occurred, and the successor trustee takes over. There are a number of moving parts in this relationship. There are a number of moving parts. However, remember this, it's about asset protection. You are protecting those assets so that they can be passed on. You're protecting them. The beauty is the tax benefit of the trust. See, wealthy people think about their money. They think about passing it on generationally. They think about protecting it, and they want to keep it. What do we always say? It's not how much you make, it's how much you what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Somebody say it loud. It's what? You ain't screaming at me. It's what? It's keeping it. Keeping it. See, we make it. How much will you make in your lifetime? You know, there are people that will make millions and they will lose it all. They're spending it. It's not. Now, somebody will say, Brent, I can't take it to the grave. That is true. But you can pass it on to the next generation. So don't just blow it away. You're thinking about what goes on with your family. You're thinking about your legacy. You're thinking about your name. Your name may not be on a building. It may be in the hearts and in the assets of your family. They get to have the picture of you on the mantle that says, my Aunt Brent left me this. My Aunt Robin left me this. My Aunt Lisa left me this. My uncle, not aunt, my Uncle Edward, definitely not an aunt. My Uncle Edward left me this. Therein lies your legacy. Living trust. Most people do not think of the living trust. You put your assets in there. So that's another layer of protection. We want to layer the protection. Let me continue on. Now, you know, it's a donor can be named. You can have more than one. You might have 2 or 3. Please make sure these folks, a trustee, please make sure these folks have some synergy. Do not have so-and-so over here in Massachusetts, somebody over here in California. These people have never met, don't have a clue as to who they are. And the day they meet is the day you're incapacitated. And they both have different perspectives on how things should be handled. That's why you put it in writing. Now, a donor may wish to consider whether a bank can provide services that an individual cannot, keeping in mind that only banks with trust authority can act as trustees. The reason my mouth is like that is because I'm not sure I could really think of a reason why a person would want to have a bank as the trustee, but there are those that do. Be mindful and careful of who is going to be that trustee for you. Okay, bear that in mind. Keep that in mind because that's going to be pivotal. Let me take a moment out to give a shout out and say, Shirley Carrington, you are such a sweetheart. I really do appreciate what you shared with me. She said, Brent, I'm really proud of you. You've made the comeback. So I want to say kisses to you. Okay, with that being said, let's move on a little bit further. And, you know, for grandparents that want to pass something on to their grandchildren, the trust where you can control it, you can move it, you can maneuver it, very, very important. So for you grandparents out there, and you're thinking about, well, what am I going to do for my grandchild? What kind of gift can I give them? You can give them the gift of a living trust that gets passed on to them. And I love it. Yes, yes. Edward C. is Uncle Edward. For sure, for sure. Okay, let's continue on down the line. Through the trust document, the trustee is given direction, guidance, and certain powers and authority to manage and distribute the trust property in a prudent fashion. The trust document gives the directives. So you've got to know what you want to have happen. You've got to think through, you've got to plan it out, you've got to think through, because you've got to put it in writing. It follows what is written. Now, I am going to encourage you. I'm really going to encourage you to have legal counsel. I'm going to encourage you, applaud you to have legal counsel. At some point, you might utilize a paralegal to get you through the initial process. At some point, you're going to want legal counsel. Now, again, I do not make any endorsements. If I know of something, I'm going to share with you. I happen to appreciate the law firm of Prince LaBelle and Ty. They are not a sponsor. They have not. I just happen to appreciate them tremendously. I've done business with them in the past. I brought clients there. So if you want to take a look, go up to Prince LaBelle and Ty. Take a look at what they have to offer as a means of getting started and thinking through this process. Because in our team of our power team, there has to be an attorney. There has to be a CPA. There has to be a coach. You know, we've talked about coaching, and we're going to have episodes on coaching and what to look for and why they should exist. I love the article that was written in Black Enterprise and in Inc. magazine regarding why coaches are important. So we're going to have a period of time where that's what we're going to focus in on. Right now, we're talking about that trust, but a coach needs to be in your power team. Okay, with that being said, we've shared that the trustee is a fiduciary. Fiduciary. I hope you all have right now. There are nuggets in here. Hashtag fiduciary is a fiduciary, a person that occupies a position of trust and confidence and is subject to strict responsibilities. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. You remember when somebody would say, would you be my child's godmother? And some people never looked up what the word godmother means. And they wake up one day and they're the godmother. In many respects, we take it on, but we don't necessarily know what the history is of it. Notice that this document is saying strict responsibilities. So when you are getting ready to take on the responsibility, you got to know what you do. Some research. Google is a search engine. It is not a research engine, folks. It's a search engine. It gets you started. Then you go and you continue the research. Take advantage of those days when there is legal counsel that you can get some complimentary services from. You have the open office Q&A with Brent Harding. Come on, make an appointment. Come on down. Let's talk about this. So that when you go and talk to the person that you're on the clock with, you can be bulleted with your questions. And you're just there to get answers. Okay, let's go a little bit further. The trustee must hold the trust property solely for the benefit of the donor and the beneficiaries of the trust and or as directed by the trust document. So what's the point here? The point is that guess what? The trustee is not the person that gets anything out of it other than what is defined in the trust document. If the trustee is a management component to that and it's defined in the trust document that the trustee will get X amount of percent or they get X amount of dollars per year for managing it, terrific. It's not the beneficiary. Very important for you to understand that. Not the beneficiary. They've got a role. They've got a management role. That's what they do. Sound like a plan? Well, with that being said, let's take a little station break. And I want to share with you that exponential growth coaching by Brent Harding is available to you. What do? I help businesses realize revenue. That's what I do. I help you to get to the place where your business is either generating the revenue, generating multiple revenue. That's what I do. I help you to get clear, get your clarity on so that your business is focused, so that you are not hitting any more landmines, that you are having the successes that you look for. We start with the results in mind. See, that's what a coach should understand. We're starting with what's the result that we want to get. And then we are building it back so that you're getting that results. You know, more often than not, what is really sad is a lot of businesses do not recognize that coaching actually makes you money. Yes, it does. You are spending it in the beginning. What the coach is doing is compressing the experience. They've got experience, so they're able to give you the benefit of that. They compress time. They compress those R&D, that R&D time, that research and development. They point you in the right directions quickly, so that you're not doing tests on things on a constant. That's what their role is to lay out the plan. I have a playbook. I have a coach. Most coaches have a coach. I have a coach. I've got a playbook. The coach gives you the plays so that you run those plays and you become the winner. You run those plays just like the Patriots ran those plays. Yeah, I like the Patriots, okay? They ran the plays. Guess what happened? Touchdown! And what was interesting is they made a comeback and still won. Exponential Growth Coaching. You can instant message me or you can text me 617-438-7949 and let me do for you as has been done for me. With that being said, let's get back to the show. But before we do, want to acknowledge and recognize Dr. Letitia Wright out of California. Amazing. And she shared our post. Thank you, Dr. Wright. I appreciate you. We are live. We are also on Google Hangout. If you want to be a part of our community, our Wealth Warrior Group community, all you have to do is go up to the Facebook page and say, I want in. Our job, our role is going to be to bring you into the community. And when we do, you know what else we do? We rotate those dollars within our community so that our community drives revenue. I have done business with at least 3 people. That means money has gone into their pocket, and as a result, money has come back into my pocket. It makes sense. How many times do we want that dollar rotating in our Wealth Warrior community? We want it rotating so much that it's dizzy, that when it wakes up, it doesn't remember how it got started. That's how many times we want it rotating in our community. So I'm putting a shout out right now and saying, I am looking for a graphic artist, somebody that I can do business with. If that is you, then you need to let me know. Instant message me, because that's what I'm looking for. Leo Edwards, glad to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, so let's continue on. Now, because the donor has transferred his or her assets to the trust, the assets held in or by the trust are generally not subject. Listen to this. I want you to hear this so loud it makes your head spin. Are not subject to being administered by probate court. Did you hear that? Did you just say, I hit the mother load? Show Brent some love. Hashtag. This is awesome. That's why trusts exist. Okay, the successor trustee, the person the donor appoints to handle the trust after his or her death, simply transfers, listen to this, simply transfers ownership of the trust assets to who? The beneficiaries, the donor named of the trust. When all the property has been transferred to the beneficiaries, the living trust terminates. You have put your assets in. They are not subject to probate. Does that sound like mana? Oh. Okay, with that being said, here's what I want you to understand. Always, always, always get legal counsel. Always, always, always listen, talk to your CPA. Talk to your accountant. Get all the details from them, because each one of us has our own individual circumstance. So it may be significantly different for you than it is for somebody else. Very important. I am not a legal counsel. I am a consultant. I am an educator. I am somebody that's going to give you, that's giving you complimentary information when we are on the air. Now, when I'm in my office, that's a different story. But you will know what kind of questions to ask, okay? So that is pivotal and important. This morning, we are talking about living trust. This is the next piece of the puzzle in terms of growing our legacy, of passing on our legacy, of our wealth. We have talked about our taxes. We have talked about credit. We have talked about entrepreneurship. We are now talking about protecting the assets. It's building blocks. Remember, building blocks. However, if you miss one, the puzzle will not be complete. You ever seen one of those puzzles and it's missing a piece? What happened to the piece? It fell off the table. I wasn't paying attention. I gave the responsibility to somebody else. Well, I'll tell you what, you give that responsibility to somebody else, you own the fact that it's not there. Yeah, when it comes to this part, I get serious about this because I don't want to hear any more excuses. We should not have any more excuses. Yes, we have ups, we have downs. Get up. It's time to get up, and it's time for us to handle our business. Good morning, John Curry. It is a pleasure. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Please forgive me. But you're in the feed. You can press and show me some love. I appreciate it. These folks are from California. I am loving it. Do you know what time it is in California? It's like 6 something in the morning. So if they can get up and be here, you local to the East Coast, you better be up with us. All righty. With that being said, I want to give a little bit more content here and some of this I want to read directly because I don't want you to miss anything. It says, conversely, if a trust is not in place at the time of death, real important, it's not in place at the time of death, and if assets remain in the name of the descendant, these assets would be subject to probate court administration, whether a last will and testament is in place or not. That is a hardcore, serious nugget. Did you hear me? Did you hear me? And when we talk about probate court, we know anywhere from 35 to 50% gone. In fact, for those of you who live in Massachusetts, you may be familiar with the Brockton Mall. There's a mall in Brockton, Westgate Mall. That Westgate Mall is one of the most famous cases on the planet of error, of a family legacy gone bad. If you get an opportunity, look up the legal of that one. It's the Westgate Mall in Brockton, Massachusetts. And I don't want to tell you the story. When we convene next week, somebody's going to tell me that story. Somebody, hey, everybody that's on here, y'all got a homework assignment. Look up the Westgate Mall in Brockton, Massachusetts, and watch how a family dynasty crumbles. I want details. Details, details, details. Okay, with that being said, I want to kind of, nope, let me see. Yeah, I'm going to take a station break, and then I'm going to do a recap. Station break. E3 Power Up, E3 Power Up, E3 Power Up, the award-winning E3 Power Up is coming to Boston on September 30th. And I am pleased to say that it has already got traction. We have some VIPs in the house. I am so proud of them for being VIPs. This event is a woman's event. It is a women's conference. Now, for the fellas, I want to share something with you. You want to know how a woman thinks? You want to know how we think in business? You want to know what's important to us? Then you want to be there and observe us. That's all I got to say. That's right. We are inviting the fellas in to see. Now, when I say invite, you still got to go up to Eventbrite and get a ticket. Or you can reach out to me. I'd be more than glad to take your credit card. It is going to be incredibly exciting. This year, our hashtag is Dictate Your Destiny. Hashtag Dictate Your Destiny. Hashtag Pink Ghetto. We are focused on investing. And as you hear this content right here today, this is the kind of content, the level of content that you are going to hear at E3 Power Up. We are going to talk about revenue. What's the difference between income and revenue? We're going to talk about coaching. Why is coaching so pivotal? We're going to give you examples of how that makes a difference. We are going to be talking about our media presence and what does that mean? How does that happen? Dr. Letitia Wright is going to bring that on. We have our correspondent, Pamela Stone, who will be coming in from Ohio to be with us. We have our platinum ambassador, Robin Tennille, will be coming in from Detroit, bringing people with her. Pamela bringing people with them. So it's not, are you going to be there? It is, How many tickets do you want? E3 Power Up, you're able to go up to the Wealth Warrior broadcast and you will see details. You can also hit the button and go ahead into Eventbrite and get your ticket. You can also go up to our E3 Power Up page on Facebook and get details. So again, E3 Power Up 2017, September 30th. It is a Saturday and we are compressing it for entrepreneurs. We know that entrepreneurs want to get it one and done, all in one session. So that's what we want to make happen. Now, we're getting ready to do a recap of the content. So this is the last opportunity you have to share your button, to share this show with your friends and family. They're going to hear the recap. They won't hear all the detail, but they will certainly hear the recap. So I want to give you an opportunity to hit the button, the share button. And on the count of 3, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 this time, I want you to hit the button and invite somebody on so they can hear the advantages of a living trust. 1, 2, 3. Hit that share button. Boom, chakalaka. That's right. We are doing it here on the Wealth Warrior broadcast this morning. Let me share the advantages. Let's put all of this in a nutshell for you. So get that pen and paper out. Hey, by the way, there is something pivotal. When somebody says, well, why is it that you're writing by hand? Or why is it that you're journaling or something of that nature? Because there is a neuro-linguistic process that goes on in your head when you're taking the pen. See the pen go into the paper, the brain is functioning, it's sending a message down. So the neurons are getting connected. So that's why you will hear, that's why pen and paper are still in fashion. There you go. Okay, so what are the advantages? What are the advantages of a living trust? Well, the donor can name a financial institution or an individual with some experience. Sometimes you want investment experience, but you want the person to be competent, the person to have their faculties and understand and have a clue. They might have an expertise as the trustee who may be beneficial if the trust assets were to be invested. Now, here, different from what we talked about before, these are benefits, okay? These are These are advantages. There's a difference between benefits and advantages. So hear it again, and I'm going to read it directly for you. The donor can name a financial institution or an individual with investment experience as trustee, which may be beneficial if the trust assets will be invested. Powerful, very powerful stuff. Next, avoidance of duplicate probate. Oh my word, I cannot believe somebody is actually testing me out. Please forgive that. This is just extraordinary for me to have had that happen. Oh my word. Somebody, who is it that does not know what I am doing between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning? What? We'll have to school some folks. So let me go on because I've only got 3 more minutes. Okay, the avoidance of duplicate probate in another state if property owned at death state is held in trust. Powerful. You might have assets, property in other states. If it's in the trust, sweet. Avoidance of probate. Here's another one. After the donor's death, trustee distributes the trust assets directly to the beneficiaries without probate. Are you feeling this? I mean, I am like, I know folks are going, man, Brent is high as a kite. Yes, I am. I am high on information. The trust may be more difficult to contest than a will. You know, when you have people squabbling, that's nasty business when they're squabbling. So the trust may be more difficult to contest. After the donor's death, the cost and expenses for personal representatives, lawyers, accountants, and others may very well be less because it's all laid out here. So it's going to cost less to continue to administer the final process. In some states, a living trust document can be kept more confidential than a will. Again, these are advantages. Lastly, while the donor is alive and competent, he or she is in complete control of the trust. May change or terminate the trust at any time, provided the trust document specifically provides this right. How powerful was this morning for you? Was it powerful? Did you get some nuggets out of this morning? Did we rock it this morning? Yes, we did. Okay, with that being said, it has been my pleasure to be your host this morning. I am every Saturday morning. Next week is E3 Power Up Update, and we are going to have co-host Robin Tennille, Platinum Ambassador for E3 Power Up, will be with me. And also our correspondent, our E3 Power Up correspondent and co-host Pamela Stone will be on the air with me. And it's going to be exciting. We have got details and specifics to share with you. We've got the contests that are going to be happening coming up. So you're going to get a forecast of that. The show is going to rock. Again, it has been my pleasure to be your host for today's broadcast. Remember, I will be speaking at Debbie Cox's event here in Boston, Massachusetts on Gallivan Boulevard. I'll be putting that in the feed along with the flyer, 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. Also, next week, we will be having some events at the Quincy Innovation Center on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Put those in the feed as well. And today, I want you to go out and be absolutely extraordinary. I'll see you next week. Bye now.